Welcome everyone to part 1 in our beginner's guide to Europa Universalis 4 blobbing simulator in 2021. Blobbing before unpausing. So, before we unpause the game of Europa Universalis 4 and start conquering all our neighbors, absorbing them into ourselves and becoming the unstoppable blob, there are 3 things we need to do. Well, that is to maximize our 3 main resources. Monarch power, money, and manpower. So, admin power, diplomatic power, and military power are collectively known as monarch power. And as we absorb more and more people into our country, they will be our main limiting factors, because as we absorb people, we will get more money and more manpower at a faster rate than monarch power. So we'll run out of monarch power first. And this means that generation of monarch power is paramount for having consistent, strong conquests. So, how do we maximize them? There are 2 main ways that we can controllably maximize our monarch power, and that is buying advisors by clicking on this advisor alert, or going to our country outliner and the court tab, and estate privileges. So we'll start with advisors because they're simpler. Advisors are people you can pay to generate monarch power for you. They also have a side effect that can be pretty good, but the main point here is that to generate monarch power, buy the most expensive advisors we can afford so that they generate the most monarch power. Money is mostly used to just fuel our armies and our advisors, so make sure you buy the most expensive ones we can afford. So since we're making $3 a month, we can afford mostly level 1 advisors. Since level 1 advisors are the cheapest, and level 2 advisors cost 4 times as much as level 1 advisors, and level 3 advisors cost 4 times as much as level 2 advisors, this means that we should always fill out all our slots with the advisors of 1 tier before moving on to the next slot, because 1 tier 2 advisor costs as much as 3 tier 1 advisors. Ottomans are slightly special because they start with Ali here, who gives us a half-cost advisor. This makes it very worthwhile to run him, and then some level 1 advisors. We need trade efficiency to make money. Spy network isn't really important right now, and we need national manpower, so we get more manpower since it's one of our primary 3 resources. So, the second thing we do to maximize our monarch power gain is through estate privileges. These are also a great way of generating monarch points because we only need to pay off crown land. Crown land is associated with this debuff or buff, depending on how much we have. And it's a pretty bad debuff, but it's worth running all 3 of these monarch power privileges. The last privilege we don't have enough crown land for, so we have to generate some crown land. Crown land can be generated by conquering new territory, pressing the seize land button, and developing our provinces, like you can see in this tooltip. So seizing land gives us a decent amount, conquering land will probably give us the most, but developing is very quick and very cheap. So we'll develop our province with the cheapest development cost, because all development is basically equal, and we need to get more development rather than development in any particular place. So we'll just buy our cheapest development. This gives us 10 crown land, and we'll get it here. The last privilege. So this is how to maximize your crown land. Buy the most expensive advisors possible, and then give out these 3 estates. So now on to money and manpower. The number 1 thing we can do to increase our money situation is with this army maintenance slider and our fort mothball button. So basically, by turning down our armies and forts, we make them incapable of fighting and helping us out in wars, but cuts their costs in half. This is very good, provided that we are not intending to fight anybody, but because Ottomans are right out of the gate prepared to conquer people like Kandar and Karaman, we will need our army to be online and our forts turned on, so we will have to save that for being at peace. This basically means that the number 1 way to make money is to turn down our armies, and this means that we need to stay at peace as much as possible. However, this is unavoidable because we will need to invade people to get their countries and territories. So the key thing here is to try to finish those wars up as quickly as possible. The most expensive war, provided that it's quick, is cheaper than a cheap long war. Why? Because to fight a war at all, you have to turn on your army maintenance, and this means that we can't have them on half cost. You cannot win a war with a half cost army, and so you have to turn on your army maintenance, buy as big of an army as you possibly can to finish the war quickly so that you can go back to peace and start making money. Another way to make money would be through buying buildings, but we don't have the technology to build these buildings yet, so that will have to wait until we have that technology. And then one final thing that we should do to make money is press this button, Sale of Titles. Sale of Titles sells off 10 crown land and gives us 2 to 3 years of gross income. This is a huge benefit. Yes, it costs us crown land and makes our crown land debuff go up. So this is why we should try to balance our crown land at around 20 to 10%. So we can have a sustainable debuff. But pressing this button as often as possible gives us a ton of money in the early game. And now we'll seize our crown land back so that we can get a decreased debuff. 5 is the next break point. A point where the debuff goes down some more. So we'll develop once more. Here we go, Dig Baloo, and now it's only, it's better even more. Basically, press this button provided that it doesn't drop you below 10. Because when you're below 10, this modifier autonomy here is not cancelled out by our autonomy modifier from being at peace. Autonomy in our country basically makes our country overall worse. So have as little autonomy as possible, and this is another reason why we would want to be at war for the shortest time possible. So that's how you make money in EU4. You turn down your maintenance on your armies and your forts and fight wars as quickly as possible. If you have to spend a lot of money so you have a huge army and you crush their armies in the field quickly, do that, because spending a ton of money while at war to win faster is better than turning on army maintenance. So that's maximizing money from reducing how long wars last. There's another thing that we can do to reduce our military expenditure, and that is preventing rebellions. So rebellions happen when some province in our country has unrest over 0. This makes it possible for rebellions to happen, and rebellions will raise armies that we have to go kill. Raising armies means that we have to turn on our army maintenance to full, which means we can't sit around at peace. So we have to reduce unrest as much as possible so we don't have to bother with killing these armies. To reduce unrest, we could do 2 things. The biggest contributors to unrest are religion and the tolerance modifiers specifically. So tolerance is a part of religion where basically it generates more or less unrest depending on which religion it is. We are a Sunni country. We have high tolerance of Sunnis and lower tolerance of Shias, Ibadis, and everybody who's not Sunni, Shia, or Ibadi. And we want to maximize tolerance by either converting people to Sunni or by tolerating people more. Fortunately, as Ottomans, we start off with mostly Sunni and Orthodox provinces in our country. So if we tolerated Orthodox a bit more, we could get rid of all the penalties from Orthodox. So this would be local unrest isn't as high as local unrest in our Sunni provinces, and also we get unrest from religious unity. Having more provinces in your country that aren't of a faith that's tolerated at +3 means that our religious unity goes down, which has these negatives, drawbacks. One of these is also stability cost. Stability cost happens to be another thing that makes our unrest lower. So we want stability cost to be low so we can get it cheaply and decrease our unrest some more. So because the Ottomans are the way they are and most of our provinces are just heathens, we could actually give out one more estate privilege here to the merchants guilds that increases tolerance. This is a very good privilege because it reduces the effects of non-tolerated religions on religious unity, which makes our country better and prevents rebels. So now we tolerate these guys more. These guys and their provinces have less unrest from tolerance as soon as we let the month tick by. So if we let the month tick by, wait for the computers to quickly change their diplomatic stuff, and now we'll get into the next month on the 1st of December. Come on, there we go. That's the tick. That's the sound of our money being lost. And now we tolerate everybody way more. Our tolerance is higher, and our Orthodox provinces have higher unrest reduction. So that's good. This is how we prevent rebels. One of the big ways to prevent rebels. And then we press this boost stability button, which will give us some more national unrest reduction. If you look at this tooltip, also you can see that negative stability gives a ton of unrest, like twice as much bad as positive stability is good. And another thing that you might not know straight away is disasters. Disasters also raise unrest. Basically all of them do. They slow down your expansion, makes your running your armies more expensive because you have to turn them on to stomp rebels, and also hold you back because they last a flat amount of time. So being at positive stability not only prevents the negatives from negative stability, it also prevents disasters, which are extra bad. So this reduces your rebels by a lot. And this means that we can turn off our armies for longer periods of time. So this also works its way into manpower. Manpower is very much like money. If you're not fighting wars, you don't lose very much of it, which is a good thing. That said, we will have to fight wars, so in the wars, make sure to win all your battles. A fight that we're losing will cause more casualties because they'll do more damage than us usually. So by making sure that you win every single battle by outnumbering your enemy and avoiding splitting your troops up, that will make it cheaper on our manpower. So with that out of the way and our stability raised, we can do one last thing to maximize our money, and that is give out these advisory council benefit privileges. You can see here that it reduces our advisor cost by 25%. Every estate has this, so we'll grant these all out, and we'll start to make much more money because of this. And you can see now that our advisors cost less, and we have a positive balance per month. So this is very nice. So one last thing we should do with our estates before we unpause is, you see these numbers here? These are the positive benefits that estates give based on their loyalty and influence. Bigger influence means a higher, stronger benefit or penalty, and loyalty determines if that is a negative or benefit. And basically try to keep this at around 50 so that when we press the seize land button to get more crown land to reduce this negative, we won't get rebels that we have to fight. So give out these 10 loyalty, equilibrium, 10 influence ones to get us closer to 50 loyalty and as much influence as we can without going over 100. At 100 influence, estates also get a disaster, so you want to avoid that from happening. So give out all of these privileges, and this should be your starting loadout for estates to make the most money and monarch points for you as possible. One final thing to do with the states is to press this button, Summon the Diet. Summon the Diet, as you can see, gives you 5 loyalty, 5 influence, both are very good. And then it gives you like some side quests, mini quests. These give you tasks that give you a reward if you complete them. And the main thing here is to choose a task that is completable, because completing a task gives you a benefit. Edurne conversion is probably the only one we can do with reasonable speed. Manpower level basically means we have to stay at peace. Manpower recovers a fixed percentage each month, So 50% manpower basically means we'll have to wait for like 5 years or so. Or in other words, too long. So we're not going to take this. We don't want to get trade power because in Sea of Marmara, if we search for Sea of Marmara, here we go. This is basically meaning that we should conquer this stuff so we get trade power. This is doable since we intend to conquer all this stuff anyways. So that's what we need to do to maximize our 3 major resources. With Monarch Power, buy the highest level advisors we can afford, give out these privileges. With money, press this button as much as you can. If you guys disagree with me, by the way, because it is kind of debatable whether it's worth it to risk such high autonomy by selling crown land, just leave a comment down below. Like, I will explain it to you why I believe it's a good decision, or you guys could convince me and I will issue a retraction. So press this button as much as possible for money, but otherwise for manpower and money, stay at peace. Turn down your maintenance on your forts and your armies, and decrease rebels reduce the amount of rebels we get as much as possible. I'll touch more into specifics in the next episode. And yeah, this is all you need to do to prepare for blobbing. So that is blobbing before unpausing. In the next episode, episode 2, it will be actually blobbing. So see you guys next time. Goodbye.